Welcome back to the NISD Innovates podcast, the podcast for teachers by teachers. My name is Ashley Shinde. I am one of the secondary academic technology coaches here in NISD, and I am joined today by 5 other tech coaches, and I will let them introduce themselves now, starting with Elizabeth.
Hey everyone, Elizabeth here. I am an elementary coach here in Northside.
Hi everyone, I'm Ruby De Hoyos. I too am an elementary coach here with Northside.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Feacoch, and I am also one of the elementary tech coaches.
Hey everyone, Janet Winghoff. I'm one of the middle school coaches.
Hey guys, it's Brandy Brandt, high school tech coach.
We are so excited today to bring you all things March Madness. So today, as we focus on those instructional best practices to slam dunk the end of the school year and all year. In the house with us today, we do have an MVP who we are super thrilled to introduce. So I will let Brandy take it away.
All right. It is my honor to introduce our guest MVP, a man that lit a fire under me many years ago, the myth, the legend. He's an educator, speaker, author, networker, researcher, publisher, one of my inspirations, and my friend. Please welcome Dave Burgess.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Excited, Dave. Can you tell us how you became Dave the Pirate?
Yeah, so this all started with me a long time ago. I was teaching in my classroom, and then one day I got asked to do a professional development workshop for the peers in my district. And so I said yes, even though I didn't have a workshop, I didn't have anything organized, I didn't have anything pulled together, and just drove away from that meeting going like, what have I just done? And just to let you know, I was not smart, and I did not choose a 1-hour session. I signed up to do a full day workshop for the peers in my district. And I was just like, I just drove away from that going like, I do not know what I just did. I don't know why I just did that. And so I started to really get relentless about pulling together everything that I did in my classroom I thought was successful. And that wasn't good enough because I had to take it a step back further and try to come up with where do those ideas come from to begin with, because I can't just share what I do, but I wanted other people to be able to do it too. And so I wanted to have a theme, because if you think about it, it's a lot of pressure. If you write up a workshop description, which I did, that said that you're going to teach teachers how to create a wildly and outrageously engaging classroom that has students knocking down the walls to get in, you better have a pretty dang good workshop. Like if you're going to build yourself as the engagement person. So I wanted a theme. I wanted teachers to be able to feel what it was like. And so pirates always appeal to me because there's some certain things about pirates. They're unconventional. They're willing to reject the status quo. They're willing to sail into uncharted waters with no guarantee of success. They're risk takers, rebels, mavericks. And so I wanted to embrace that spirit of being a pirate. Also, though, pirates are known for having hooks. And this was all about how you could hook students and draw them almost magically or magnetically into what you're doing in your classroom. And then I'm abnormally obsessed with acronyms. And so I turned the page sideways. I wrote PIRAT down the page, try to make an acronym. I knew I wanted to talk about passion and enthusiasm. They're the P and the E were the beginning and the ends of the word, like the cornerstones of it. And I knew I wanted to talk about building rapport with kids as sort of being the heart of teacher. There the R was sitting in the center. And so I never looked back. I did the workshop that summer and then began to go anywhere where anyone would listen to me to talk about it.
Oh, that's awesome, Dave. And that's really interesting because we were just about to talk a little bit about the impact that you have had on a couple of us coaches. And I was going to talk about exactly the quote you just said, one that stuck with me since I started reading Teach Like a Pirate, which was when it first came out. I was teaching some really hard to motivate, hard to teach kids back in 2012, 2013, when your book came out. And a quote that stood out to me was, it's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be worth it. Pirates are daring, adventurous, and willing to set forth into uncharted territories with no guarantee of success. Exactly what you just said, right? And so I was hooked on everything you said, no pun intended, but you made this impact on my life at that time, on the decisions I've made from that point on to this point as a teacher, and now what I do as a coach. And so I really appreciate everything you've said, and then all the things that you do to help other educators and writers and all these people that you've published that we read, and that we're becoming these coaches and teachers and educators. And so I love what you just said. And I know Michelle also wanted to share the impact you've made on her as an educator and a coach. So thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Brandy. I'm honored by that.
You're welcome.
So Dave, when I interviewed for this position, it was like 8 years ago, 9 years ago.
That
I'm
sounds
looking
right,
at
sounds
Janet.
right. We're the
Because
OGs,
we
we're
both
the OGs.
interviewed at the same time. I had we had to do a 5-minute presentation on what we could bring to this newly created position. And I had my presentation ready to go. I had practiced it. I knew what I was going to say. 2 days before my presentation, I changed my mind and went with a pirate theme based on your book, because I
Love it.
wanted them to see the passion and the enthusiasm, the relationships that I had built with teachers in my previous role. And I wanted them to see that I was the person for the job. And, I pulled it off, except I ran out of time because I got a little too excited. And so my 5 months, I think I got all the way to the T, and then I ran out of time. So then I had to follow up with an email with the rest of my presentation. And I was like, arg.
And look, you're still here all these years
I'm
later. So it must have
still
worked.
here. It worked, but yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Well, I'm going to tell you something about that, is that when I'm doing my keynotes and presentations, I stop with the T2.
I feel really good.
Yeah, and some people will say like, what about the E? I'm like, we've been talking about, like, that's what we've been talking about the whole time. Like the enthusiasm kind of goes through the whole thing, right? And so it's almost like redundant at the end. And so I always stop. My last letter that I do when I do a keynote is I do the T.
Well, there you
You're in
go.
the right track.
There you go.
Validation.
All right, so this past week, we hosted our second Ed Chat of the year, and it was focusing on all things March Madness. And our teachers had so many great ideas to share on best instructional practices and all the tech tools that they're using in the classroom. And so we would like to kind of piggyback on that and ask you some questions that we have already asked our teachers, and hear what you have to say. So we're going to start with Ashley.
All right, question number 1, Dave. We all have a bag of tricks that we rely on. What instructional strategy delivers a slam dunk for you?
Okay, so one of my favorite things to do is, in Teach Like a Pirate language, we call it preheating the grill. And so there's lots of ways to do that. There's the teaser hook, there's the mystery bag hook, there's the board message hook. There's all these different things that are building up curiosity, anticipation, buzz before lessons, okay? And the analogy I always use with people is barbecuing like a steak out on the grill. Like, I don't put my steak down on a cold grill. I preheat my grill, because when you drop your steak on a cold grill, nothing happens. But when you drop your steak on a preheated grill, what happens? It sizzles, and I want my content to sizzle when I drop it. So I'm always looking to preheat the grill, building up mystery, curiosity, buzz, and anticipation before we go. So what are you saying today when students are leaving to make them excited about coming tomorrow? What are you saying on Friday to make them not be able to wait until they come back on Monday? And so it's all these different things that you do, or even when they're walking into class, what do they see when they walk into class that immediately creates buzz and like has them asking questions and talking to their neighbor, like, hey, what do you think we're doing? Did you see that on the board? Or do you see what's shining on the screen? What could that possibly mean? So I'm always looking for different ways and trying to convince teachers that they need to preheat the grill.
I love that so much. I think that goes with a lot of the work that we've been doing too, right? Around that centers around engagement this year. A lot of the teachers that we speak to, that's like the number one ask, what can I do to make the class more engaging? And I think that what you're speaking to, that curiosity piece, right? No matter the age, the students are coming to us with curiosity. So how can we feed that or preheat the grill instead of extinguishing and putting on that cold steak?
I also like what you said about like kind of, I don't want to say leaving them hanging, but wanting the kids to be like, ooh, I can't wait to come back tomorrow. So speaking of kind of like those best practices and things that we can do to engage kids and engage teachers, question number 2. So being an all-star means that you are knowledgeable about research-based practices. So how do you stay current with instructional practices and ed tech tools that are out there?
Yeah, so I think one of the best ways that I have of doing this is I travel and speak in so many different systems. And so sometimes people say, like, I'm currently out of the classroom. I'm the full-time speaker and publisher, running Dave Burgess Consulting, Inc. And so some people think that might mean that I don't know what's currently going on in schools. When I tell people, no, before I was in my classroom, that was all I saw was my classroom. But now I'm in a place where I get to see all sorts of classrooms. I get to talk to all kinds of different teachers. Also, I'm well connected via social media. So I always tell people, don't be confined by the ideas that are within your system and within your building. Become globally connected. Build that professional learning network. And so I am in multiple social media spaces, listening and hearing ideas and helping to amplify ideas that I see that are powerful. And then I'm also in a position now with Dave Burgess Consulting where people are submitting their manuscripts and their books, and I'm publishing new stuff. So although I'm not currently in the classroom, I'm publishing stuff constantly of people who are out there in the classroom, out there doing the real work in schools. And so I think I really have my fingers on the pulse of a lot of stuff that's happening that maybe I didn't even, not even as much when I was in my own classroom.
It's so funny because Brandy and I were talking about that exact idea before we came today. Just, the idea that you're publishing so many teachers with that authentic voice, with so many different perspectives, and they're bringing so much to the table. And we just love that about your work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I have to add, through your publishing company, you brought someone into my life that we've used as part of our PD around Northside, and that's Stacy Rochon and Tech with Heart. And we've actually had her do one of our innovation and digital learning sessions, and she's connected with us, and it's been great.
Her message is so powerful because it comes from such a personal and authentic place where she was very vulnerable. She was nervous about this, but she was very vulnerable in the book about some of the issues that she had going through the school system and some of the anxiety and perfectionism and all these different things like this. And her being willing, and many of our authors, but being so willing to share that in a vulnerable way has made a big impact. And her message of how to empower all voices in the classroom, even those introverts, even those people that maybe have too much anxiety to speak in front of their peers, maybe the slower processors who need a little bit more time, and how you can use educational technology not as something that depersonalizes, but as something that actually personalizes your classroom and makes it more empowering and empowers student voice from everybody. It's such a powerful message. So I love that you've connected with Stacy.
Yes, I love it too. So following along those lines, one of the questions we asked the teachers was, you've got 5 seconds left. Do you go for a 3-pointer or do you play it safe? And we know Dave Burgess is going to go for the 3-pointer. He's not going to play it safe. But am I right?
You are 100%. You are 100% right.
But what kind of advice would you give a teacher who's risk adverse and who tends to play it safe? How do you get her or him to take that chance and go for the 3-pointer?
Yeah, so safe lessons are a recipe for mediocrity. You never know where the edges are until you fall off of them. And in our line of work, it's not a big deal when you do, because they come back the next day and you make it right. And you learn to see that failure as feedback. You don't get upset about it. You don't personalize it. You don't beat yourself up about it. You don't beat kids up about it. Everything that happens in the classroom is feedback. They're providing you the real-time gift of feedback to help you improve and hone your craft. And so you use that feedback to make shifts in course and adjustments to what you're doing. See, pirates don't yell at the wind. Pirates don't curse the wind. Pirates read the wind. They shift their sails, they catch it, and they go, right? And so the wind of the classroom is that student response and feedback that we get to our lessons. You don't ask wind to change. You read wind and you shift your sails to catch it and to get to where you need to go, right? And so that's like a big part of what this is. And as far as, and it's going to be uncomfortable, but the truth is all progress is found outside of your comfort zone. And so if you're never willing to be uncomfortable as an educator, then you're not growing at the rate that you could. And so you have to be willing to push outside of that comfort zone if you're really going to. We talk to kids about that all the time. We talk to kids about having a growth mindset. Like a kid comes up to us and says, hey, I'm not good at math. We don't say, yeah, that's too bad. Well, we say, whoa, hold on a second. You're not good at math yet,
Yes.
right? And we work with them and develop their confidence and their skill set. We meet them where they are and build momentum, right? And get them more and more confident as they would go. Like if a kid came up to us and said, hey, I don't feel comfortable speaking in front of others, so I don't want to do any presentations this year. Would we ever turn to that kid and say like, oh yeah, I know that's a thing. Just go sit quietly in the corner all year. No, of course not, right? Again, we would work with them and build their confidence and give them closer and closer approximations to what we ultimately want them to do, so they get that momentum and start to feel better and better about it. And we lead them to where we want them to go. Well, as teachers, we have to shine that same sort of light on ourselves too, and be willing to understand that we're not going to be good at something when we try it for the first time. Who is? If you're good at something first, that would be incredible. That would be ridiculous, right? We're always going to fail when we try something new. We're always going to go through those struggles and that little bit of those growing pains. But that's part of the growth process, just like it is with students.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes, if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. And I'm always remembering that.
100%.
So, okay, Dave, every MVP needs a coach. So who do you partner with to help you reach your goals?
Yeah, so I have an incredible team at DVC Inc. I work hand in hand with Tara Martin, Kansas.
I love Tara.
And so Tara is, one of my key people on the team. I have Wendy, who is, you don't see a lot of Wendy, but Wendy is behind the scenes doing all sorts of stuff that helps DVC run. And also another group that's behind the scenes that you don't see is we have an incredible editing and production team that helps to take these projects from educators who, most of them are not authors when they start. They're a classroom teacher. They've never written a book before. Most of the people that write for me, it is the first time they've ever written a book. And so we have a whole team of people that work with our authors and help them craft their messages and make them, more powerful. Take their voice and just make it better. So it's not changing their voice. It's just like amplifying their voice. And so we have a whole team of people like that. And then plus the authors themselves. I'm so grateful. I get to work with so many incredible people who are doing incredible things in education and help them spread their messages. And so I love our author family too.
Yeah, I agree. Those are all the people you work with. They're all such inspirations to all of us as we follow all their journeys. So we appreciate that. And maybe somebody in this room will be there someday.
Maybe so. We're always willing to listen to new pitches.
We're working on it.
No.
All right.
Okay, so Dave, surprisingly, I'm new to the Teach Like a Pirate life, but I think I get it. Arg. But I do see how enthusiastic my teammates get when describing how you have positively impacted them as teachers and as coaches. So my question to you is, what suggestion would you give a new teacher, a new coach like me that wants to embark and learn more about the Teach Like a Pirate life?
Yeah, so advice for new teachers and new coaches, anyone, is that what's unique about you, your particular strengths and talents, and your voice that you add to what you do in your classroom or working with your coaches. It's what's going to make you most powerful and effective with kids and with the fellow teachers. And so I'm always encouraging people to fight the cookie cutter and to add your unique talents to what you do, and have the intestinal fortitude, the strength of character to do what you think is most powerful for students in your district, and not just necessarily what everyone else is doing. And so, that's my best advice for you. Is a lot of people think that Teach Like a Pirate is about teaching like me. It's not about teaching like me at all, right? I'm not trying to create Dave Burgess clones. I'm trying to encourage people to add their strengths and talents to what they're doing, and then weave it together with some of the human nature ideas from Teach Like a Pirate about how to just engage human beings to create the best you. So Teach Like a Pilot is not about teaching like me, it's about teaching like you, but maybe in a more powerful way.
Oh, words of wisdom, Dave. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, as long as we're giving advice, what advice would you give to a young Dave Burgess?
Well, so I'm almost embarrassed to say this in front of a group of ed tech coaches, but you might notice something about my book. There's not a whole lot of ed tech inside of my book, which is, by the way, why, like I tell people all the time, they'll say like, how come you don't have more ed tech in your book? And, or maybe it's, I don't see much project-based learning in it, whatever it might be. And I always tell them like, oh, hold on. I wasn't trying to write the encyclopedia of teaching, right? This isn't everything that you need to be a powerful teacher. This is my story. This is my message. These are things that I found to be effective in the classroom with students. And I think that you'll find them to be effective with students too, but it's not the only message out there that you need. It's not the encyclopedia of teaching. And so the reason you don't see more ed tech in the book is because young Dave Burgess wasn't very good at it. Right.
Wow.
And so I couldn't write about it from an authentic place. And I wanted everything in the book to be authentic. So rather than trying to write inauthentically about educational technology, what I realized what I needed to do was, okay, I told my story. Now I need to go find people who are good and amazing at that and help them to amplify their voice. And you mentioned like Stacy Roshan as an example of that. Matt Miller with Ditch That Textbook and Tech Like a Pirate. And I have it right here.
I know.
AI for educators, you know,
Yes.
like, so I'm not an expert in AI, but Matt Miller knows a lot about it. So amplifying Matt's voice and helping other people get these messages out. Eric Kurtz, Alice Keeler, like all these people are ed tech gurus. And so why should I write a book about educational technology when I can tap into these people that are so incredible and help them spread their message?
I love that, Dave. You're so authentic though about reaching out to other people. And we, especially here in Northside, I think that's one of our strengths, is that we are always looking for the other people to reach and build on us. We don't say we know everything, as you just saw at the beginning of our podcast.
Technical difficulties, technical difficulties.
Yeah, we all need help every now and then. So, okay, just for fun, because I know Dave loves basketball. So how's your March Madness bracket looking?
Well, so I don't know when this is going to air, but I'm from San Diego. And so obviously I'm a San Diego State Aztec fan, and the Aztecs are still in the tournament in the Sweet 16. However, they play the number 1 seed on their side. They play Alabama tonight. So no guarantees. That's going to be a tough one. But so far though, my San Diego State Aztecs are having a fantastic tournament. So I'm happy about that.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, you know, my Aggies were out a long time ago. So
I don't even know. Who, is that a college?
zip it, Dave. Zip it.
Dave, thank you.
Hey, our friendship was real good just a minute ago.
We just crossed the line.
Did you know that my college, we were the Aggies too?
I actually did know that.
Yeah, the UC Davis Aggies.
Hey, but I mean, they could be close to the same.
Yeah.
I mean,
All
right,
right,
Ashley.
yes. Well, thank y'all so much for joining us on this episode, and a huge thank you to you, Dave Burgess, for being with us today. It was very enlightening, and I think it really lit us all up. And that fire, and that passion that you speak with is the same passion that we're hoping to ignite and bring into the classrooms with us every single day. So thank you so much. You did mention that you're on social media, like all of the platforms. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so I'm super easy to find. If you are a Twitter person, I'm at Burgess Dave. My name just flipped around to Burgess Dave. If you are on Instagram, I am DBC_INC. And there you have to put up with some running and fitness posts as well as education, but lots of education too. And if you are, you can find me at daveburgess.com, daveburgessconsulting.com. And if you are a podcast listener, I would love to have you listen to the podcast. It's the Dave Burgess Show. You mentioned Stacy. Stacy's been on the show. And so you can listen to that interview. And Matt Miller is coming on, and his episode will drop on Monday. So we'll be talking all about AI and education and all that kind of stuff like that. on Monday's episode. So hopefully you'll listen to the Dave Burgess Show.
Fantastic. We'll definitely give a listen for sure.
It's amazing.
We're excited. Is there anything else that y'all would like to say before we sign off for today?
Well, I'm just so happy you joined us, Dave. Thank you
Yes,
for
thank you.
everything you've said and just being willing to do this for all of our teachers here in Northside.
Hey, I'm very honored that you had me on the show. Thank you so much for reaching out. And it was wonderful to connect with you. Hopefully I'll see you all face to face sometime soon.
We hope
Hopefully
so.
so.
Thanks, Dave.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.